Representative Hewett, you submitted a bill that would have created a taxing authority in Fort Trumbull. Could you explain to us why you submitted that bill and why you withdrew it and how that taxing district would have worked?
First of all, thank you for everybody for coming out today, it being part of the political process. I figured you'd ask that question. As a matter of fact, I was anticipating it being the first one that you asked. But anyway, getting to the bill. This bill is not something new. This is not something new. This has been done, and a lot of people that live in the city of New London doesn't know that downtown New London has a special taxing district. This idea came to me from a colleague of mine that I've been working with for the last 12 years named Representative Don Clemens out of Bridgeport, Connecticut. Representative Don Clemens has been working on Steel Point for as long as he's been in the Connecticut General Assembly. And Steel Point was stagnant, just like Fort Trumbull is today. And what happened was we submitted a bill, and the bill the next day after Mr. Collins came to the state to the public hearing, which he said that I tried to get the bill passed in the middle of the night, that wasn't the case. If it would have been in the middle of the night, it would have never had a public hearing.
I'm going to have to cut you off. The rules, 60 seconds to initially. You will have a 30-second chance to comment further after we hear from Chris Soto. You have 90 seconds to comment.
Great. Well, again, I want to thank everybody that came out tonight, the day, the League of Women's Voters, the Chamber. Pleasure to be here. And so, talking about the bill that was introduced, I definitely support the idea of economic development, right? And that's not what people had an issue for, but it was about submitting something that, as Representative Hewett went on record, as not knowing what it was about. And I think that is kind of the difference, right? Like we're both going to stand here and support economic development and support getting things forward in New London, but after 12 years, it's about kind of not keeping your eye on the ball and making sure that we are paying attention to those details and we are paying attention to the things that are going to be important to New Londoners.
Rebuttal?
Yes.
Well, first of all, I knew what was in the bill. What you're doing, you hear in Dave Collins' account of what happened. If you know Dave Collins came to the state of Connecticut up in the General Assembly and sat there and interviewed me about the bill. When I said something that he didn't want to hear, he stood up and started yelling to the top of his voice with F-bombs like you would not believe. If you know David Collins, you know that, because then I says, at this point, I'm not going to stay in this conversation with any interview. This bill was not done in the middle of the night. It was done, and the public hearing was the same day that he came to the state of Connecticut. So this is not nothing that was done in the middle of the night. I knew what was in the bill. I read bills. I've been there 12 years, and I've learned to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Soto, I could give you another 30 seconds. Do you have anything further on this question?
Sure. I mean, he says he knows what was in the bill. We know that he was on record as saying, that's a good question, I got to find out. I can count on one hand, in the 12 years that Representative Hewett has been in office, how many bills have been introduced by him and have been passed, right? And so that kind of tells you that comfort of introducing bills that we know are going to improve our community.
And if Representative, give you the last word on this question before we move on.
I'll be the first to tell you, I don't like introducing a lot of bills. For me, I think we should get rid of some of the bills that people introduce, like bingo halls and stuff like that. That has nothing to do with what's happening in the state of Connecticut. I think it's crazy, and that's why I don't introduce a lot of bills. But I can bet, you bet your bottom dollar that the ones I do introduce have some merit to it and would take this state forward.
All right, thank you. Our second question will come from Greg Smith to Mr. Soto.
Turn up Mr. Soto's mic. Yeah, please. Soto's mic.
Mic check, check. So we can hear him. Mic check, check one. Is that better? Is that better? Is that better? Mic, mic, mic.
How's mine? Good? All right.
Do our technical people be able to try to adjust that, or?
Mic check, mic, mic.
Unfortunately, we were set up by the school system when we're working the best we can. There wasn't a a technical person available that was left at the school. So we're going to have to continue with debate best we can if and we'll take a look and see if we can figure something out. But if Chris, if could hold your, we do know it's being picked up at a good level on theday.com.
All right. I'll just have to use my command voice.
Or he can use my mic.
How's it going?
All right, next question from Greg Smith to Mr. Soto.